Once again, thank you for joining me. My name is Douglas Grummins. I'm glad you're back with me again. We're going to finish chapter 6 and pick up with chapter 7, the last chapter of the book 10,000 Waves. Anyway, let's take a second before we get into the book and read some very wise words from the mystic Osho. In Osho's book entitled What Now, Adam? The Book of Men, Osho says to us, "The new man will not be a tale told by an idiot, but it will be a poetry sung out of wholeness, will be a dance of immense joy for God's gift of life and being. For the flowers and the trees and the birds and the sun and the sand and the sea, the new man will not look somewhere far away for God. He will look here, close by. Now will be his only time. Here will be his only space. The new man will be earthly, and what I mean, and by earthly, I don't mean materialistic. The new man will be a realist. He will love this earth because we have not loved this earth, and our so-called religions have been teaching us to hate this earth. We have destroyed it. It is a beautiful planet, one of the most beautiful because it is one of the most alive. The planet has to be loved. This planet has to be rejoiced. It is a gift. This body has so many mysteries in it that even a Buddha is possible only because of this body. This body becomes a temple of the greatest possibility, Buddhahood, nirvana. This body has to be loved. This earth has to be loved. The new man will find his religion in nature, not in dead stone statues, but in living, dancing trees, in the wind. He will find his religion surfing the sea, climbing the Virgin Mountain. He will find his prayer in the snow, with the moon and with the stars, and he will be in a dialogue with existence as it is. He will not live with abstract ideas. He will live with realities. His commitment will be with nature, and through that commitment he will come to know supernature. God is hidden here in this earth, in this very body. This very body, the Buddha. This very earth, the paradise." Anyway, those are words from Osho's book that I'm reading right now called What Now, Adam? Even Osho admits that the new man will be a surfer. So anyway, now we get back to the book 10,000 Waves. And we pick up where we left off. Val, my girlfriend, and I were in Hawaii on vacation surfing. And I think I got snaked by a young lady on a wave as I was inside a barrel coming out. But then a couple waves later, back to the text now, then a couple waves later, another young man took off right on a wave that I was already going left on. Once again, I saw him coming, so I straightened out. I guess this guy did not see me either. The next thing I knew, his board crashed into the back of my thigh, and I got a good scrape and a hefty bruise as a trophy for surfing that day. The next day was much better. We watched a pipeline break at a hefty 10 feet. And I wanted so much to give it a try, but common sense said, "You're not ready for pipe." We drove down to Chun's Reef, and it would look super fun. It had an inside section for Val to play on, and some hefty walls on the outside for me. I rode a couple on the inside, and then said to myself, this is not what I came here for. So with a gulp in my throat, I paddled out to the outside. And it was a pretty heavy day. That day the waves had a consistent 8 to 10 foot face. And I paddled into the lineup, eager to ride one of those gems. The first thing to do in a lineup that you have never been in is to figure out the pecking order. Who is the strongest surfer or surfers? Then which surfer or surfers is the weakest? Who is the hungriest out here? At that moment, I think it was me. I finally caught my Hawaiian gold. Because of my height, I surf best when the waves are 6 foot or bigger, and I caught wave after wave, just dropping in beautifully and then carving out beautiful bottom turns. The waves were long and clean, giving me a chance to ride like I like to ride. When a wave has a bigger face, it gives you more room to be creative. And I was able to pull full carving rail cutbacks and on my slightly large rusty quad fin board. Then I saw a big wave develop out of the back, so I paddled out to it. I turned around and caught my biggest wave in Hawaii. I was feeling that this should be a wave that I should ride in on. As I caressed the face of this beautiful wave with all my fingers, this is what I call kissing God's face. As I rode this wave to shore, I lost my balance slightly and almost fell over on a huge boulder, just inches below the water surface. Somehow I pulled the board back up under me, just clearing the boulder, and rode out the rest of the way into the beach. And this is what I came to Hawaii for: pure Hawaiian gold to me. We spent our evenings watching the sunset on Sunset Beach, and the sun was so beautiful setting in the beautiful blue water. We hit every surf shop in Haleiwa at least 3 times. I had caught my Hawaiian gold at Chun's Reef. Beautiful 8-foot waves and clear blue water. I brought meditation into everything I did, or should I say I made everything a form of meditation. Surfers are naturally meditators. They don't have to sit in any posture or put any effort into stilling their minds. They are connected to the water in a spiritual way, naturally. Regardless, out of all the hobbies that fill my life, I made surfing my first love. There is just something so mystical about surfing. At times, a surfer seems to defy gravity. A surfer earns his knocks the hard way. Everything you get in surfing, you have to earn. The same holds true to all of the beautiful things in life. It comes too easy, or if it comes too easy, it's not worth having. Beginner surfers stay on the inside, where the waves are small. When it gets big and you don't have the upper body strength to get out to the bigger waves, then you have not earned the right to ride them. With skydiving, a plane takes you up. With snowboarding, you have a lift to the top. With surfing, you have to earn it. If you're courageous enough to paddle into big waves, the rewards are just as big. A relative once asked me the scariest thing that I had ever done. What was the scariest thing I had ever done? She probably thought that I might say skydiving or something like that, and I told her that meditating was without a doubt the scariest thing that I have ever done. Facing the abyss of nothing in total darkness, without fear, is the most courageous thing I've ever done. When a surfer combines meditation with his love for the ocean, he becomes a new man, just like Osho just described to us. After years of meditating and surfing, I started to realize something. At first I thought it was a coincidence, but now I'm realizing it is a gift from God. Whenever I go out surfing, if the surf is small, when I get in the water, it sometimes seems to pick up. Sometimes I would sing to the ocean, just sitting on my board, away from the crowd. Then out of nowhere, waves would start coming to me. Like I said for years, I thought it was a coincidence. Then one night, I took my friend Mike to the beach. We brought our boards and his drum, and we thought if there were no waves, we would find a secluded spot and just enjoy a nice morning on the beach with playing his drum. When we pulled up to the beach, it was completely flat. It looked flatter than a lake, not even a ripple. We drove up the beach and found a spot where we would not disturb any of the fishermen. And as we sat in the van, I noticed a bunch of dolphins offshore, just offshore. I said to Mike, "Hey, let's get our boards and swim out to them. It'll be fun." So we paddled out to the dolphins and played with them for a while. Then out of nowhere, waves started coming to us. There was no wind. It was a high pressure system. Where could these waves be coming from? It went from completely flat to about thigh high for about an hour. The waves were just big enough to ride. We rode them for about an hour before going to shore. And as we walked back up to the beach, I turned back to look at the waves, and they were gone. It was completely flat again. Looked just like a lake, right before we went out to play with the dolphins. I said to Mike, "Hey, where did all the waves go?" Now, it's not like I have some mystical powers that can command waves. I realize that when I go surfing, it's a gift. I go out with no expectations, just a child playing in the ocean. I make no demands from existence, and existence seems to have given me so much bliss in the form of waves. And that ended Chapter 6. Chapter 7, the conclusion, is entitled Coming Home. And I start off by saying, I have heard a story. Once a beautiful Zen master wanted to teach his followers a lesson about the gifts of life. One day he gathered all of his followers and gave them all butterfly nets. And he told them to go out and catch butterflies and bring back as many butterflies as possible. So they went out and tried all day to catch them, swinging their nets this way and that, chasing them all day with no luck. Every disciple came back to the Master empty-handed, only to see the Master sitting in meditation with butterflies all over his body. With existence's gifts, we should be like the Zen Master and make no effort to obtain these gifts. Just be like a child and play. To me, being enlightened is like being the only surfer out enjoying the waves, looking at the shore, and everyone has a board under their arm, but for some reason they won't come out to the water and surf. So I call them and I say, "Come surf with me. Put away your fears and join me." I missed Osho meditation group that I attended back in Virginia so much that I looked all over Houston for another Osho group, only to find there were none. So I formed my own. I formed a new meditation group of my own, and I knew the meditations, and I had a beautiful house large enough to accommodate such a group. Then I asked a friend if I should do this, and I have never facilitated a large group before, and he told me that a man with one eye could lead the blind. And loads of people came to the meditations. I made friends with so many people from all over the world. I met sannyasins that have been meditating for over 30 years, and still something seemed to be missing. To me, that something is a deep communion with the earth. Heaven or Eden is right here on the earth, right in front of you. You just don't have the eyes to see it. Jesus told people heaven is at hand, and this is what he meant. Find heaven right here. God is everywhere. There is no place that God is not. I like to use the word existence instead of God, because existence includes everything. Even nothing is encapsulated in the word existence. In Buddha's day, people were connected to the earth. They had a better connection to the earth due to their agrarian society. I am not saying they had better lives. There were no employment unions in those days, and people got around on foot or by ox-drawn carriages. Thousands of meditators became enlightened just by being close to Buddha, sitting and meditating. In Jesus' day, people were still connected with the earth, or to the earth, and they were very trusting. And Jesus was so godly and beautiful, he was able to walk up to a stranger and tell him to drop his nets, and so he could make him a fisher of men instead of fishermen. In those days, people did drop everything and they followed Jesus. Thousands of years have passed since Jesus and Buddha have walked the earth. Times have changed. Very few people can just exclusively sit and meditate in today's world. The key is to be 100% meditative. In today's world, very few people can be totally loving. We turn a cold shoulder to those we cannot afford to help. We only pray when we need help. And the key is to be totally loving. This is Jesus' understanding. Then the transformation can happen. You have to be totally 100% loving. You can follow Jesus' footsteps up to the water's edge. For beyond that, there are no more footprints. You have to find the courage to dive into God. You can follow the paths up to the mountain between the trees that Buddha laid out until you come to the tree line. Above the tree line, it has snowed thousands of times since Buddha laid down those trails. There are no footprints in the snow leading up to the summit. Beyond the tree line, you have to make your own journey to the summit. You cannot carry a load with you. The mountain is too steep. This means you have to make it alone. You cannot even carry Buddha to the summit. And this is your journey. So gather strength and courage in the valley. Snowboarding gave me the strength and the will to climb to the summit. Surfing gave me the strength and the courage just to let go and merge with the ocean. And skydiving has given me the wings to help my spirit soar into the skies. In today's world, people have tried both Buddha's and Jesus' ways, only they have forgotten the most essential point. In order for a tree or of your spirit to grow, its roots must be firmly planted into the soil. A deep connection with the earth must be established. Loving alone will not bring you home unless you can be totally loving. Meditating alone will not bring you home unless you can be totally meditative. And my approach is to be total in everything. Combine love, prayer, joy, appreciation, meditation, and most importantly, make a connection with the earth. The real search is not a search at all. It is just melting with existence and accepting or acceptance of yourself. Treat God like He is your closest friend. Bring God into all things you do in this life, and when you start with love and appreciation, you have given the soil moisture for your soul to grow. When you meditate, you bury the seed of your being in that rich soil. Be patient, just meditate, for the sheer enjoyment of meditation. When you do this, the seed will transform into a plant in due time. So never look for the goal. Everything happens in its own time. Give yourself enough space to melt into existence. The band Led Zeppelin said in a song, Stairway to Heaven, yes, there are two paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. I interpret this meaning that there is a path on the mountain, and this is the path of the action or meditation. Take one step at a time to climb to the summit. If this path doesn't suit you, then there's the way of the ocean, a total letting go. The drop of water finally returns to the sea. I have heard that in South America they catch parrots in a simple way, but amusing. They stretch a rope between two trees, and they leave some slack in the rope, so when a parrot lands on the rope, it flips upside down, or the parrot flips upside down. The parrot becomes paralyzed with fear, hanging upside down. The parrot forgets that it can fly. He could just let go and fly away, but he is afraid to let go. And we are all in this existence holding on to the past and the future, just like the parrot is hanging on to the rope. These ideas, just as the parrot is holding on, are the ideas that we have. But we have wings as well, and we can fly. So just let go and trust God and trust existence. I cannot say which I love more, mountains or ocean, and I will never choose between the two. I love the mountains and I love the ocean, and to me these places are the most mystical places on the earth. They can and will give you almost all the answers to the deep mysteries that we call life. Enlightenment is both a peak experience and is also a melting into God. It's like a line and a dot at the same time. Between the waves of snow on the mountains and the waves in the oceans, I'm sure I've ridden at least 10,000 waves. This figure is what's in my heart. And it has taken me that many ways before I could find the courage to share this surfer story with the rest of the world, with the rest of everybody. If you already surf, give meditation a try. The most powerful places to meditate are in the water or under a tree. Trees are very Buddhistic. You can feel their silence and when you sit right up under them. Remember, the drop of water that falls from the cloud over the sea returns to the sea faster. Meditating in water draws your energy back to the water, and meditating on land draws your energy back to the land. There are many things to do to reconnect to the land, just as many things or ways are to reconnect with the water. So just play. The Indians have a beautiful word that describes God, and they call this existence Leela. Leela means God's play. So look at existence like everything is a playing. The birds are playing, the dolphins are playing, and the clouds are playing. The ocean is playing with the earth. The sun is playing with the earth. Everything is playing in perfect harmony. So return to your childhood. Rediscover this playfulness, so someday you will rediscover that which you were meant to be. Try giving God a wave every once in a while. I'm sure you will not regret it. For me, it was waves to ride. For you, it could be anything that brings you as much joy as all those waves have brought me. If my story inspires even one person to pick up a board and give it everything you got, then I hope to see you out there in the water. So go find your wave. Aloha. And this is the end of 10,000 Waves. So once again, thank you for joining me and taking the time to listen to this book. Anyway, before we go, I'd like to share a few words because a friend of mine was talking about discipline on a website. And anyway, Osho also says in his book, What Now, Adam, that the one I'm reading right now, it says, Osho says, you asked me, please can you say something about creativity and discipline? And discipline is a beautiful word, but it has been misused, as all beautiful words have been misused in the past. The word discipline comes from the same root word as disciple. The root meaning of the word discipline means a process of learning. One who is ready to learn is a disciple, and the process of being ready to learn is discipline. The knowledgeable person is never ready to learn because he already thinks he knows. He is very centered in his so-called knowledge, and his knowledge is nothing but nourishment for his ego. He cannot be a disciple. He cannot be in true discipline. And Socrates says, "I know only one thing, that I know nothing." And that is the beginning of discipline. When you don't know anything, of course, a great longing to inquire, explore, investigate arises. And the moment you start learning, another factor follows inevitably. Whatever you have learned has to be dropped continuously. Otherwise it will become knowledge, and knowledge will prevent further learning. The real man of discipline never accumulates. Each moment he dies to whatever he has come to know, and again becomes ignorant. And that ignorance is really luminous. It is one of the most beautiful experiences in existence, to be in a state of luminous not knowing. When you are in that state of not knowing, you are open. There is no barrier. You are ready to explore. The Hindus cannot do it. They already are too knowledgeable. The Mohammedans can't do it, and the Christians cannot do it. Discipline has been misinterpreted. People have been telling others to discipline their lives, to do this, to do that. Thousands of shoulds and should nots have been imposed on man. And when a man lives with thousands of shoulds and should nots, he cannot be creative. He is a prisoner. Everywhere he will come across a wall. The creative person has to dissolve all shoulds and should nots. He needs freedom and space, vast space. He needs the whole sky and all the stars, and only then can his innermost spontaneity start growing. So remember these words of Osho's, and also remember my words that a surfer, discipline comes without any effort because of the stoke that we get. Every time we ride a wave, we get full of stoke, and then we just want to ride more waves. And the stoke will keep you growing and keep you going all the way through life. But out in the water, the stoke keeps you going so much that your arms will fall off before you stop surfing. Anyway, thanks once again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed these words of mine and Osho's. And I guess we'll get started on the next book real soon. Anyway, take care of yourselves out there.